All right, for today's video, we thought we would do something super fun and read the hate comments that we get online.
Yay. Welcome to our channel. I'm Steph.
I'm Katie. Little Theo is on your lap. Do you want to say hi?
Theo really doesn't get hate comments, so he's not really included in this, but he's here for moral support.
He's here for moral support.
Thank you.
That's very sweet. Yeah, we thought for today we would talk about homophobia in general, and the homophobia that we get as content creators online. Any other queer creators online can absolutely relate to this and completely understand what we're talking about. But I think a lot of people don't quite understand that this happens and just how much it happens, and so we wanted to kind of shed light on that.
It also looks like different things. It doesn't look like one thing.
Totally.
I think people maybe think homophobia, that's this one specific thing,
Totally.
or this one way that it occurs, but
Yeah.
there are multiple ways, and we are going to talk about that.
Yeah, there are multiple ways. That's really important. You're right. And yeah, I think it's just important to talk about these things. I think anytime we kind of share about this, you know, inevitably someone's always like, oh, like, why bother giving this the attention? Or like, don't even bother giving this your energy. Like, just ignore it. Just forget about it. And it's like, yes, sure. But also, like, why should we have to just put up with it every single day and never talk about it? Like, I, for one, really, like, it makes me feel better talking about it and sharing about it and kind of bringing attention to it. It makes me feel like I can kind of take my power back rather than just feeling sad about it all the time, because it is really hard to read these things every single day, to hear these things every single day, and you can't always just ignore it, and you shouldn't just have to ignore it. So I think it's important to talk about it if you want to, if that makes you feel better. And for me personally, that definitely does. I don't know about you, if it bothers you as much as it bothers me, but yeah, I enjoy having conversations about it, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really bother me that much, mostly because I don't put so much emphasis on it. But that being said, you know, if you really think about it and you really think about people who are leaving these comments or saying these things, yeah, they're real people, and these are real feelings, and those real feelings can basically manifest in very real ways in person too, and we aren't on that end of that very often, but a lot of people are. And so I think if you think bigger picture, these are really important conversations to be had, and you know, it is really important to try to put a stop to some of this.
Yeah, and a great way to do that is to just be open about it, talk about it, and make people aware that it happens. Because anytime we talk about this, inevitably, like, so many people who are not in the community, who are allies, are just like shocked that this happens, and they're like, oh my god, I didn't think this still happened, that people still feel this way and still say things like this. And it's like, yes, they do.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. Obviously, here on YouTube, our community is quite small, and one of the reasons why we actually really love creating on YouTube is because everyone here is very nice. We don't ever get hate comments on YouTube, very rarely. And that's probably because our community here is smaller. Also because YouTube is a searchable platform, so typically the people who are finding our content want to find our content, whereas on Instagram and TikTok, where we also are, Instagram we have over 100,000 followers, TikTok we have over 10,000 followers, and because those are algorithm-driven platforms, people are seeing our content all the time who don't follow us, who maybe don't want to see our content, who maybe don't know why they're seeing like content from a lesbian couple, so we get way more hate over there. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why sharing this on YouTube feels safe, because everyone here is very nice and very sweet, and we love you guys, so thank you for that. But yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay. All right, we've decided to group these into categories for your viewing pleasure. So the first category is outrage and disgust.
Yeah, this category is just all the, like, you know, the meanest, like, people are just like angry, they're mad about it, they just, like, you know, hate us.
And they're not afraid to say it.
And they're not afraid to say it. So let's get into it.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, so here are some of our faves. Obviously there are many. I just chose, you know, the best. So the first one is arrest these people, WTF. The second one is so wrong. Next is WTF is that? And the next one is this is disgusting. So as you can see the theme here, people are just like so angry at us for just like existing. Like all we're doing in our content obviously is just like being ourselves. Yeah. Maybe snuggling, kissing, doing what a married couple might do. So gross. People are just like so extremely offended by it. Another is lost and confused.
there's a movie called Lost and Delirious.
And Dazed and Confused.
And Dazed and Confused. So really what they're saying they want is like a Dazed and Confused, Lost and Delirious mashup movie that we should probably make.
Another is F you and all the LGBT community. It's not just us, everyone. Which is important. They don't just hate us, they hate everyone. Yeah. This is a good one, my favorite. Holy shit, tomboys. I don't think I've ever been called a tomboy.
I have been called a tomboy, but not in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that was when I was younger, and I don't think anything about us really gives
tomboy vibes. I find that one funny because it's just like, oh, women together, women like kissing each other or whatever, they must be tomboys because that's like their idea of what a queer woman looks like. I quite obviously am not a tomboy, so I find that one fun. Another is ew, so nasty. Another is no rainbow. That was in all caps.
So we must cancel all rainbows.
No rainbow.
Yell at the sky when it rains.
Yeah.
No rainbows allowed. A naturally occurring phenomena it must be outlawed.
No rainbow. And then, of course, there are the ones that are like borderline threats.
Those are lovely.
Your fantasy and party is going to end. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That doesn't sound nice.
No. I think those are the ones that I read where I'm just like, yeah, this is how homophobia turns into like violence against queer people.
Like Pulse nightclub or...
Yeah. Lots and lots of examples, right? So...
Yeah.
These are the times where we think like, yeah, we, need to be careful about our safety in sharing online because there are people out there who hate us and there are people out there who want to hurt us. And that's just like a very sad, real reality of being queer and for any queer person, obviously, but like sharing our life online for people. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary thinking about those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's category number 1, and obviously there were many more that were far too explicit to share that were, more threatening, more angry, more hateful, and everything like that. But yeah, so I think it's important to note that, that's just like outright blatant homophobia. That's like what you might expect. And there's obviously a lot of that, but there's also a lot of other things
obvious
too.
Stuff.
Yeah, so...
what's behind door number 2,
What's behind door number 2? Well, the next category is... passive aggressive. So this is where it's not just like outright hateful. It's like maybe like a little zinger, a little joke, a little ignorant question, but like underlying homophobia, like it's still coming from a very just like hateful place, but it's not like I hate you, I'm gonna kill you. It's just like, why do you have to be like that? That sort of thing.
Yeah. And maybe people don't realize that it's hateful, but there's just something I don't like about it. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Why do you have to do that in front of me? Why do you have to make it your whole personality? That sort of thing. Yeah. So there's a lot of that as well. So first one just starts with some ignorance, which perhaps it was coming from like a honest, ignorant, just don't understand place, which that's fine. But it's hard to know. So I don't understand why 2 girls are kissing. I don't understand.
Why would they ever want to do
understand.
that?
And if you don't understand, I don't know. Yeah, like maybe you just don't know that that's a thing. I don't know. You 2 sisters?
Definitely.
Couldn't make a video like this without comments like that. You 2 sisters. And like it probably sounds so silly to people who don't know, but like any couple, any couple that's 2 women, and I don't think this happens to men. I'm sure it doesn't. No one asks, are you brothers? They just assume you're gay. But if you're being like intimate, but 2 women, no one would ever assume you're a couple. It's always, are you sisters? Are you cousins? Are you twins? Are you best friends? Anything before, are you a couple?
We've had, are you European?
Yes, because we were holding hands. Yeah.
And then when we said we're from Canada, they were like, oh, yeah, that's close. That's the same. They must hold hands in Canada. All women hold hands in Canada. That's just what they do, right?
Yeah. And we haven't been asked too often if we're sisters, but it definitely happens, even though we look absolutely nothing alike.
We've had that quite a bit.
Do you think so?
I think so. People always try to figure out what the relationship is, and they default to, let's go with sisters because I wouldn't want to offend them.
By asking if they're a couple?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's so offensive.
So offensive to suggest that someone might be queer.
I mean, I do think that's why people do that. And also, it's just like people need to know. I don't really know why, but like you need to know what someone's relationship is. Like, why do you need to know?
So they can make sense of it in their brain.
So boring. Bad experience with men.
Yeah, that one to me is so funny. It's like one experience with something changes your entire existence and like who you are to the core. Like, that makes absolutely no sense.
There's a lot of that, and it's either like you haven't been with the right guy yet, or you haven't been with guys like the right guy. Do you know what I mean? So that's why you're with women, or it's like you were with guys and you had a bad experience with one guy, and so now you're with women. Like, those two things to me are so funny, and I also think are like reserved specifically for queer women, because you never hear anyone saying to a gay man, oh, you just haven't met the right woman yet. Yeah. Like, oh, what woman hurt you? Like, this is why you're gay. Like, that never
honestly
happens.
I can think of one in particular, but I can think of other depictions in film and television, obviously not recently, I hope not anyway, but stuff from the 90s and kind of early 2000s maybe, that was, yeah, totally. Yeah. It was like, a sexual assault with a man, and then, oh, well, she's just gonna like become a lesbian now because
you can
it's too traumatic to be with a man.
Right.
So... But, like, how ridiculous.
But that's absolutely a stereotype, and you're right.
And the fact that it's portrayed on film as something that is a thing that happens is just, like, terrible. But
yeah. And, I mean, of course, there are instances where women are in relationships with men, and maybe those relationships aren't good, and then later in life they realize they're queer.
Sure,
like, that obviously happens, but it's not as simple as just, like...
No.
Yeah. Oh, this one was interesting. Lesbian relationships are the most abusive. They are faking it for the camera.
Yeah, I mean, this would be like a pretty elaborate ruse if we were faking it for the camera. Imagine we're like, let's just
like each other,
pretend to be lesbians. We'll get married. We'll buy a place together.
No, I think what they mean is that they're not faking the whole thing, but like we're faking how happy we are.
Oh, well, but that's also good.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's abusive.
Yeah, I think they think that. For some reason, of all types of relationships, lesbian relationships are like the most toxic.
So the second the camera goes off, we're like screaming at each other. Is that what they think?
I suppose. That was a new one actually.
Never heard that
before. I find it interesting though, because like just statistically, if you were to look at rates of like domestic violence and like all kinds of things, like actual like toxic abusive relationships, my guess is that most of those would be heterosexual relationships with men.
Yeah.
So I find it really hard to believe that relationships.
Let's see some facts on that.
Yeah, if anyone has the research,
hard data,
I'd be interested in that. But yeah, that one really gets me that we're faking it. I don't know. I think anyone who knows us in real life knows that this is exactly how we are in real life.
I still like the assumption that we're faking the whole thing.
The whole thing. The whole thing. Yeah.
It's all branding, PR stunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one is there are men for that.
For what?
All of it, I guess. There are men for that. Why would you be with a woman? There are men for that.
That's like, we don't need to hire women for this job. There are men for that. I wish that was on a bumper sticker. And I don't wish that was on a bumper sticker, but I bet some men would put that bumper sticker on their car.
There are men for that.
There are men for that.
Yeah. Other ones that, I consider these passive aggressive because they just play into all these like negative stereotypes, right? So who plays the man role? That's a common one. Who wears the pants, right? All of this idea that like two women together, how, like, you must be so helpless as two women, you don't have a man. So one of you must assume the role of a man.
Right, which in reality, we do rock, paper, scissors for that daily, just to like, who's going to be the man today?
Right.
You know, whoever pulls the short straw obviously has to be the man, and it's so annoying and exhausting. And, you know.
Because if we were both just being women, we'd be so helpless.
Women can't do anything. There's a man for that.
There are men for that. Yeah, who wears the pants? Again, same thing. And then this is another really common one. Thanks for teaching people to be gay. I think anyone who's queer, especially people who are queer and like share things online, this is so common. It's just like you existing somehow is like indoctrinating people. It's like recruiting people. It's like teaching people to like, you know, have your lifestyle and be gay, like us just like being.
Right.
You would never say that to a straight person just like existing in their relationship with their partner. Like, stop teaching our kids to be straight.
Yeah.
Right? But it's such a common one. It's such a common one.
I mean, we could blame a lot of people for teaching kids a lot of things. I don't think teaching people to be gay should fall into that category, but maybe we should actually be looking at some of the things that parents and society are, teaching children, and that would probably be a better use of time.
True. And this one really gets me too, also very common. It's always funny when people make being gay their whole personality. This is one that I think online creators get a lot, because if you're creating if you're creating queer content online, especially if that's like mostly what you create, then it's a lot of like, this is all you ever talk about. Like, all you talk about is being queer. Why is it your whole life? Why is it your whole personality? And it's just like, obviously we have whole personalities and whole, like, but yeah, we talk about being queer a lot for like a number of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there are hiking accounts, there are baking accounts. Why do you have to make baking your entire personality? Like, are you ever not in the kitchen?
It's funny that you say that, because I remember when we got this comment and someone else commented back to like counter it, and they literally said baking was their example.
I mean, think about it. If you follow like a baking account or channel, you watch videos, are they ever making videos that aren't about baking?
Yeah.
Probably not.
But
because that's their channel.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that person doesn't just bake 24/7.
No, they probably
do other things
with other interests. And
but
hobbies.
What they're teaching people about, or what they're showcasing, or what they're creating content about, is baking, because that is what they've chosen to do.
Yeah.
Why do you gotta make it your whole life?
Why you gotta make it your whole personality? Like, you would never say that to a straight couple.
Yeah.
You would never say that. Stop making being straight your whole personality. Stop shoving it in our face.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Oh, enough of this. Stop shoving it in our face.
There you go.
So common. Shoving it in our face. It's just, any queer person would be like, yeah, I've heard that one. Yep, so common. Like, these are just the ones, These are just the ones.
Heterosexuality is all around us at all times.
Literally,
like, people
in
are
our faces
outraged that there
are
queer couples and queer representation, queer characters on TV.
Existing in this, like, small niche.
Teeny, tiny.
Yeah.
Like, the vast majority is still...
Yeah.
Straight couples, straight people doing straight things, and like, we need representation too.
I know.
And people are so outraged that we finally have some, and now it's shoving it in their faces.
To exist in like a tiny corner of the internet, when like the whole world, like you said, like all of Instagram, all of TikTok, like primarily the majority of it is straight people, and just like a little tiny little corner of people just like trying to create
and that's
some representation,
just now.
trying to be visible.
Think of all the years we've had to suffer with having heterosexuality shoved in our faces
all the time, all day, every day. Yeah, that's true. And then to round it out, find the Bible. You can't talk about homophobia without a little bit of this. Find the Bible. We get Bible verses sent to us daily. That's a really, really common one. That's a really, really common one.
I have actually read the Bible. Interesting read. Doesn't really support their claims.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, no, I think that's a common one. Not to say, obviously, that there aren't people who are spiritual and religious and also queer. Obviously, that's fine. But I think a lot of people, like, weaponize religion to be homophobic. And that's obviously a massive problem.
But it's all an interpretation.
Yeah.
And when you have so many people disagreeing on what the text says and the interpretation of it, then, I mean, it's kind of all just bullshit.
Yeah. All right, so that rounds out category number 2.
What's category 3, Katie?
Category number 3, I think, is important. So, category is, what about the children? This is a really interesting category that I don't know if this happens to gay men. I would assume probably not as often as it happens to queer women. But, like, specifically, you're queer, so you can't have children, so that, like, makes your love and relationship illegitimate.
So what you're telling me, Katie, is that it's not just homophobic, it's also misogynistic.
As are all of these things, yes. And so this one, I included, I thought it was important, also because we are choosing not to have kids, and we talk about that often that we're child-free and we're going to stay child-free, and that's our life and we're happy with that. So people being like, but you can't have children together, it's kind of like, whatever, because we were never going to do that anyways, you know?
Yeah. But also, I mean, think of how much that discounts
all
not
the
just
people,
not just queer couples, but
any couple who can't
exactly
procreate together. There are so
there's
many people,
so many reasons,
yeah,
and there's so many other ways of being a parent,
yes.
and you know, having family and raising children, and there are plenty of, you know, grandparents raising kids, or you know, foster parents, or
adoption, people having children through fertility treatments. Like I find it especially shitty because it's shitty to so many people, not just us and people like us, but
what they're doing isn't wrong. It's just when queer people do it.
Right. Of course. Yeah, so these ones are, no matter how much they love each other, literally with quotes, neither will be able to give the other a child. So our
Excuse me? What do you call this?
What do you call this? Hi baby. But I just find this idea of like, it's not love if you can't give each other children. I just like, that's so hurtful and so harmful to so many people.
I know, it's like you can't smush your DNA together, so like you're not valid.
Right.
Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, because if we did want to have kids, obviously we wouldn't be able to have a kid like that. But that wouldn't make it any less valid, and all of the queer parents we know, like that doesn't make their parenting journey or their family any less valid. So that one really gets me. And then how to produce a boy or a girl. You will need a man. There are men for that.
Yeah.
There are men for that. That's actually something I didn't include because these are always DMs, not comments. But we get so many DMs. You probably never see them because I look at our DMs more than you.
Offering?
So many DMs.
Offering to be that man?
Offering like... sperm, offering to make babies for us, offering to give us babies. Yeah. That's a really common one too. Again, gay men I don't think have to deal with these things, but it is interesting. That's the end
people
of
DMing, being like, here, want some eggs?
Right, like that's not, I don't think that happens.
No. Maybe. No. Who knows?
Maybe. Okay, are you ready for category 4?
Okay, what's category 4?
Category is sexualizing lesbians. Another thing that I think is just like unique to being a queer woman is that not only do people just like hate you for being queer, people are also just like disgusting in the way that they like over sexualize queer women.
And they can do both at the same time. It's so wonderful, makes you feel so good.
But this is the thing, because like straight women obviously deal with this as well, like being objectified, being sexualized by men all the time. But then being queer, it's like it gets worse and different in a different way, because like not only are we like fetishized as lesbians, like our relationship is also just like sexualized in such a gross way, because straight women, when they're with their partners, when they're with their boyfriends and husbands, it's like no one's gonna look at that relationship and like sexualize it.
Right.
But when you're two women, it's just for some
because
reason
it's like sexual all the time.
Yeah.
It's like we can be doing the most mundane thing, like cleaning the kitchen, and someone would find a way to be like, oh, that's so hot.
Yeah, it's especially gross. So these ones, I really had to choose the ones that were family friendly enough to share on YouTube, because so many of them are just so disgusting, too disgusting to share on here. But this gives you a little taste. So, is there an option to be with a guy still, but only if he sits in the corner of the room and watches?
That's a huge thing, is like the voyeuristic kind of aspect of it all. It's like there's the can I watch it or can I join?
Can I join? Literally on the list. Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do probably with like the porn industry and how like
for sure.
lesbian. I don't know why I'm doing quotes, but
it's an entire category.
Exactly. And it is this thing that I think men don't think is like real. It's just like something that exists like in their porn for their own enjoyment,
their fantasy
and
world.
and not in real life, like actual real women, real people who are not interested in men and who are not interested in like existing for the gaze of men who actually just want to be with other women. Like they can't wrap their head around that. And so it is just like, well, how can I insert myself into this either by watching it and observing it or taking part? Like I can't just let it be. So Spend time with me. I will show you what pleasure you're missing. That's another good one. It's just like but you just haven't. It kind of goes back to but you just haven't met the right guy yet. You just haven't been with the right guy yet. Oh, like I could turn you.
Oh, yeah,
I get
I'll
a lot
turn
of
you.
these.
Yeah.
Can I join you, beautiful women, to be a fly on the wall? Can I watch? And my favorite, what a waste. What a waste.
What a waste.
2 women to be together and to not be with other men. What a waste.
Yeah. Sorry, we're such a waste. Yeah, it's interesting because obviously we've made a lot of progress in a lot of ways. But this one in particular, I feel like has persisted for a while and hasn't, for a lot of people, I think it hasn't really changed because I think there is this idea that women exist for male enjoyment or pleasure. And so if we are together, then men need to be able to enjoy that in some way.
Yeah.
And if we're just together for ourselves, then what a waste. It's like we're not there for them, so like that's not acceptable. So they need to be able to watch or participate or fantasize about it.
Yeah. I do think, it's so interesting, and you're right. As far as we've come, like there still is this underlying idea that women exist for men. Like we are here on this earth for men, and it's like threatening to a lot of men. Obviously, not all men. Hashtag not all men.
Or no tall men.
No tall men. Yes, obviously not all men, but a lot of men, I think, get really threatened by this idea of women not needing them and women not wanting them. And so that's why there's this like illusion of lesbians, of women who actually don't want to be with men. And so many men think it's not real. They think it doesn't actually exist. They think...
Or they only think it's real if they don't find those particular women attractive.
Yes. Well,
that's
if those
a real
women,
lesbian.
If those women are fulfilling a manly stereotype, like a butch stereotype, because those women like take on the role of men, and that's why they don't
and
need
that
men.
makes sense.
But like obviously that's still bullshit.
Of course. No, I'm saying it makes sense to them.
Yes, exactly. But that's why this idea of like more feminine women, it just does not exist to them, and it
scrambles their brain.
Yeah, and it's so threatening. And so for the two of us who are more like femme presenting, and neither of us are like bisexual, pansexual, we're both gay, we're both lesbians, we don't want to be with men, so this idea that like we're just like genuinely not interested, we just don't want to be with men, we don't need them, we don't want them, like it's so hard for people to understand that. It's so difficult for men to understand that. And again, I think that's something that's unique to queer women and something that queer men and gay men don't have to deal with because of, you know, sexism and misogyny and patriarchy and all those things.
And again, I can think of so many film representations of this exact thing. The one that pops into my mind the quickest is Chasing Amy.
Yeah, you always mention
and the intersection, and how he says that woman is a figment of your imagination. She does not exist, and it is
because
just
femme lesbians do not exist.
Exactly, they're not real.
They're right
they
here.
are real.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
We could do a whole video all just about that, because those things, not only do they harm everyone, and they also harm femme lesbians because they have a hard time coming to terms with their sexuality because they also think they don't exist.
Yeah, it's true.
Speaking from experience. Anyways, that was that category, a very important one. And then the final category, the last and final category is angry emojis. So many angry emojis. This is probably what we get more than anything else, and it's just like, so angry. The puke emoji, so many puke emojis.
It's both lazy and hurtful. Classic
it's like
combination.
they can't even put it into words. It's just like, I am disgusted by this. I will just puke all over this.
But I also won't take the time to write a proper, worded
It is lazy.
comment.
You're right. I'd at least do like, put some effort into it if you're going to be hateful.
Try to be clever. Try to say something we haven't heard before.
Yeah, because it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lazy. Yeah.
Redundant, boring, unoriginal.
Show us something new.
Pukey face, new one. Haven't heard that before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good times.
Try harder.
Yeah. Agreed. Try harder. Put your back
There's
into
a man
it.
for that.
I think that wraps it up.
Okay.
Those are all the categories. Those were
a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be.
I didn't pick the ones that were like too mean to even say, because I don't want to make other people sad either. Like, we just try and delete all the comments like this that we get, that we see. It's harder on TikTok because things just like get away from you a little bit. And I don't even read the comments most of the time. But especially on Instagram, because we have like a community there that we care about, and we don't want other people to have to read these comments either, because they are hurtful and they are horrible. And unfortunately, social media platforms don't really do anything to protect people from them. No. They sort of just allow for all these comments to exist. So that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned a little something about all the different categories of homophobia.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are a queer person that also experiences homophobia, if there's anything we missed, any categories that we didn't acknowledge, and if this was a surprise to you or you learned something, we'd love to hear that too, because I do think having these conversations is important. I know we're making light of it and we're joking around, but like, these things, they matter. These words, they matter, and like you said, they escalate into other things. They escalate into like real violence out in the world, and not just for people like us, primarily for people who aren't like us, people who are more marginalized and, you know, facing more like danger every day in the real world. So these conversations are important to have, and so have them with people in your life too. Like, make sure that everyone you know knows that homophobia is still very much a thing. Transphobia is very much a thing. People really do hate the community, and we need to work to change that, obviously, because we want to make sure that, you know, the world is safe for everyone to just be themselves. So
absolutely.
With that being said, I think that's it. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.